Dear Diary, I'm often told to look before you leap, but today I also learned to look before you try out fancy new trousers. The bullfrog trousers I've been waiting for had finally arrived, and in my haste to try them out I forgot to properly set the power levels. On the plus side, they work really well. On the downside, there's now a face print of mine on a nearby wall. When I woke up, my phone was ringing. I answered it and realised that someone had noticed my rather unconventional entry into the building. Since the spy never reveals his tricks, I declined to mention to her how I got into her office. The unfortunate misfiring in my trousers turned out to be a bit of a blessing in disguise, as it managed to get me a job offer. A lady called Selena needed a spy, and my ability to get into places unnoticed, as my entrance into her building showed, made me perfect for this. Ignoring the fact that she refused to open the doors to the lift and instead make me take the bloody long way up the sodding stairs, I accepted the offer and went up to see her. The offer turned out to be a bit short-lived, however, and the same could be said about Selena, because between offering me the job and me getting up to her office, someone seems to have killed her. It was then that I realised I'd walked past a security camera on the way up, so I'd probably be the prime suspect for this. I was starting to wish I'd never managed to get the bloody trousers. Shortly after face planting on the floor next to the dead body, and leaving more evidence, I made a run for it into the subway, or more precisely, a jump for it. Once I was away from the crime scene, one that would probably confuse any police officers with the whole face imprint on various walls things, I got a message from the CEO of Rook Firearms called Melanie. It turns out that the lady who was killed worked for her, so it's a bit of a surprise for her to seek me out. Apparently she knew who I was, which means she is capable of some very exceptional detective work, as I tried to keep my identity a secret for the good of all my friends. She knows I didn't kill Selena, but she also knows that the police are lazy gits. Doing actual detective work would take too much time away from donut eating, so she needs my help. Trying to stay positive and not self-defeating and pessimistic, I hear her plan. Wipe the security camera data from a bunch of servers. Perfect! Would be a great chance for me to use my new trousers, I thought. Hopefully there'll be less firing accidents this time. However, a bit of tweaking was required, so I promptly tweaked them to give me some more jump strength. My thoughts were that if I was going to be face planting all over the place, I may as well be able to do it with a bit of style from the highest heights. I contacted Melanie to get my instructions, and they were simple. Walk in, wipe the computer, walk out. Even better, I was getting paid for this, so I'm being paid to clear my own name. Can't get much better than this. Rather than going around the building, I made use of my trousers to jump up onto the roof, and then use gravity to help me get back down again. I made a beeline for the server, stopping only to grab a laptop that someone had stupidly left open, and have a quick read of the contents of the person's email account. Then I hightailed it away to the subway station. I do wonder why this city has so many subway stops. There seems to be one per building at the moment. I reported my success to Melanie, bragging about my abilities when I did it. I was hoping for a raise. Didn't get one, but I did get to increase the strength of my trousers again. The next mission, another mission I was inexplicably being paid for, was a bit more tricky. There was another human at this building. The first guard was swiftly dealt with, the power of the trousers being too much for him. I had to use cunning to get the second guard to open the door for me, however, so I switched the lights off and hid in a corner, and giggling while I did it. Not finding this odd at all, the guard opened the door to try to turn the lights back on, so I let the trousers handle the rest of the situation for me. One server hacked, and some more information from a nearby laptop, and all of the emails on it that really should be put away, or people should at least log out the damn things. Yeah, just in case a person like me decides to turn up and rummage through them. For the next mission, I would need a crosslink. I like gadgets, so I decided to use the money that people have been paying me to clear my own name to invest in one, hoping that I'll get a chance to use it. Melanie seemed to know quite a lot about these things. I wondered about this briefly, maybe she had made them. But before long, the excitement of not being able to try it out in the field just took over. The next building had another laptop. It was in plain sight and everything, so I nicked it, figuring this was a public service to everyone, and hopefully they'd learn to lock things up properly, just in case there's someone like me around. Next I went upstairs and got to play with my new gadget. I wired the lights to the door so that when the light turned off, the door opened, I could do my hacking under the cover of darkness. There was no one there to see this, but I was very impressed with how it worked out. On the way out, I used the light switch to close the doors again, knowing that this would confuse any electricians that decided to pay a visit, and then I left the area in style. The following building was a little more challenging, but since the guards don't understand that having your back to an open door is a bad idea, my trousers won the day. I then had to deal with the second guard, who was sensible and facing the entry point. I remembered how I used to annoy people as a kid, and thought, this could be a bit of a laugh. I wired the switch to the electrical socket he was standing in front of, so I could give him a bit of a shock. Giggling wildly that this actually works, I ran up and deleted the data. Another mission complete and more cash to my name. Starting to be a bit of a lucrative business. After briefly chatting with Melanie about her backup strategies and how there was a minor flaw in them, I headed off to the final backup location. First thing I did after getting into the building, oddly through a door on the first floor that someone decided to leave open, was switch off the lights. I also decided that this time I would use my own brain and the gadgets at my disposal, not the trousers, meaning that I would leave the guards alone and sneak around them rather than jumping on them and knocking them out. After hacking the first server, however, I got a bit bored and decided to give the second guard a shocking surprise, but I did put a bit of imagination into this one. The guard will now forever be horrified by the ding of an elevator, reminding him of what happened. Now you could say I spent a bit too long devising this elaborate prank and could have just used the trousers, but I knew the guard and he was a bit of a dick, so he deserved it. That would teach him to mess with my food. Knowing that now every time the lift got to the first floor the git would get another shock, I set my sights on the guards on the top floor. Realising that it was a lot more fun to use the building against them rather than the trousers, I started by playing about with the lights, turning them on and off until they got fed up with it and just started looking for the source of the problem. It was then that I made a discovery. The doors in these buildings are actually quite strong and open quite fast. So when opening the door to the server room in the top right of the building, I accidentally knocked the guard out cold. While laughing my head off, I knocked out the other guard on the top floor as well. And it turns out the doors hit guards when they close as well, as the poor guard on the ground floor also found out. Now all the guards were all dealt with, I decided to help myself to another laptop and its information, and made my way to the exit, and left the building triumphantly with all the guards unconscious. So there we have it, diary. This is how I cleared myself of suspicion from a crime I never committed. I knocked out a lot of guards, hacked a lot of servers, nicked a lot of laptops, and hopefully the police will now find the right person. Well, that didn't work, so as soon as I was finished buying new gadgets and tweaking my trousers, I got a message from someone who was being framed for killing Selena. Apparently some heartless bastard deleted all the security camera data, so she got the blame. The CEO's husband was the one who was apparently lying. This made me angry, but using acid is not valid conflict resolution, I was told, so instead I'd have to use my spy abilities. I kinda felt sorry for her, so I took the job. Trousers at the ready, I leapt over the building to avoid the security camera, only to realise that there was no way in from the right side of the building. Perspective thus gained, I rewired and face planted in front of the camera on the left side to get it to open the door. Then I got to try my new gadget that lets me rewire secure circuits. No wiring is safe from my crosslink now. The first thing I did was turn off a motion sensor that was guarding a door to a computer room. Stopping to grab another laptop and have a rummage through someone else's email account, thinking that this might help me make some cash on eBay, I spied on the target. Without bugging the room, I could only hear half of the conversation, but I got the information that I needed and made my way out. It turned out this guy was being blackmailed for some reason, so I don't think this will be the last I've heard of this. I asked the analyst a few more questions, but she didn't seem to understand sarcasm or have much more information for me. Once the mission was over, I decided that I'd had enough of landing on my face all the time, so I invested some cash into a system that let me land on my feet instead. This should make things a lot quieter, I thought. My next mission was from another company's CEO, the competition for Melanie's company. I initially thought he was calling about my hack collection, but it turns out the really sweary man had a job for me. He wanted me to nick something from Rook. I wasn't keen on the idea, but I thought, screw it, there's more money in this if I play them both against each other. Turns out the guy was a bit more demanding and didn't want me to leave any witnesses alive, so I had to either kill everyone or not be seen by anyone. One sarcastic remark later and I was off. This building would be a little trickier. The guards were bothering to actually wear armour, so the trousers wouldn't work as well. They were already on patrol as well, looking for me. Unfortunately for them, they are affected by gravity just like I had been for a while until I upgraded my trousers. Leaping through the trapdoor in the ceiling, I realised I needed to distract the guard. Using the lift to make him turn around, I went up the stairs so I could now hack more of the building's electrics. I then rewired and used the lift again to turn off the upstairs lights, causing the guard to start his patrol a bit earlier. I prepared to use the lift again to open the trapdoor, because using switches was getting a bit boring, but I noticed there was another laptop around. At least this one was guarded, but it didn't stop me from nicking it. Quickly checking the laptop for juicy pictures, I realised the lift wasn't going to give me enough time to get into the basement. So I decided to use the security camera instead. I was kind of hoping that these cameras weren't keeping footage when I decided to rewire them, or I'm going to have some explaining to do. I made my way to the server, hacked it, and leapt over to the subway to make my escape, leaving a very confused guard patrolling the top floor. My client seemed happy with the information, and that no one saw me, because Apparently lights failing happens all the time, along with trapdoors opening, so my job was done. So there we have it, diary. A few days of well-paid work where I basically cleaned up my own mess, and I got paid perplexingly well for doing so. I wish the world normally worked like this, because I wondered if all the weeks of working for these two would be the same. But if not, at least I've got some fun trousers to play with.